Hey guys, welcome back to Morgan Hill Farm. So I wanted to share a really exciting thing that happened here just yesterday. So my goat Peaches, who was bred, delivered two baby goats. It was, I should say, uneventful. Everybody came out in the correct presentation, and so there was nothing that went wrong, and we are so incredibly excited. I will say that that poor goat, man, she labored for, I feel like, a couple of days. Of course, not actively pushing, but just her body, preparing for the birth of these babies. And she was extremely uncomfortable. And then, of course, those early pains to sort of open the cervix so that those babies could be delivered. I was up the entire night before with her. We do have a little Wi-Fi camera in their shelter. And I would suggest doing that if you have animals that are going to give birth on your property and you're not wanting to have to run down to the pasture. I was very surprised at how far this Wi-Fi camera actually reached. So I can just literally wake up in the middle of the night, look on the camera, and see how they're doing. But I set my alarm for every 15 minutes that night. She stood from 1 a.m. till about 8 a.m. the next morning. So she was just extremely uncomfortable. We have a little change of scenery here. It started to rain on me. But anyways, when I went out there, she just kind of looked at me and kind of plopped down on the ground. Her udder is massive. She's such a heavy milk producer. And when she plopped down on the ground, her water broke, and I kind of panicked. And I thought, man, I'm not used to having her water break. I always have a baby that comes out in the intact sac. And when that water broke, it was stained with meconium, which is kind of like that first poop that the baby will take. If you've ever had a baby, that's also a concern for us as well when we have children. So anyways, I kind of waited, and she didn't push. And so I was pretty nervous, but 15 minutes later, she started pushing. She delivered a baby in a sack. It was a little boy, and I've wanted a girl from this goat. She's never given me a girl in her 3 years of me breeding her. And then the second baby came out, and it was a girl. So we were really excited, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, that we now have two babies here. So I will be keeping the doeling, and the buckling will be sold. So yeah, so that's what we have had going on here. It's been an eventful couple of days. I have also been down in the garden. We've been doing some succession sowing, so some of our squashes, cucumbers. I do have some eggplants that are growing in the house right now. I'm trying to get a second crop of those going so that once the ones down in the garden kind of peter out, I can get those in the ground and get a longer harvest off of those. Also, I'm doing some shorter day to maturity tomato, something that's going to mature quickly. I'm just trying to make sure that I have some healthy plants that are going to keep producing for us. And I've kind of been thinking about things lately. Typically what we do here is we grow everything in a 3-month period, right? We've got the fruit coming in, we've got the garden coming in, the medicinal herbs, the perennial herbs, all of that stuff. And then I work my rear end off in the garden and preserving and harvesting so that we have enough food for the year. And over the last couple of years, it's just been pretty taxing. And so I'm starting to kind of change my thinking here. I'm wondering if this isn't necessarily the most sustainable way to do it, where I just do all of the work in one season. I'm thinking more right now about season extension, where we can eat more seasonally. Of course, I will still be preserving stuff like our salsas, our marinaras, eggplant puttanesca, peppers, those things that just are not going to grow, and things that we use out of season quite a bit. So I will still be preserving those. But if I slow down on other things, like maybe I'm not doing a ton of cabbage in the spring, and maybe I'm leaving that more towards the fall time, perhaps I need to look at other types of season extenders. You can do something as simple as a really heavy-duty frost fabric. So I use something called Agribond 19. That's from Johnny Seeds. That's a really lightweight frost fabric, and it only gives about 2 to 3 degrees protection. But you can get some that are up to like 10 to 12 degrees protection. And so that's a low-cost way to extend your season and to go further past your average first frost date and be bringing in more food for your family. Another thing you can do is, if you have a little bit more of a budget, we've been thinking about this for a long time, are high tunnels. Nate's background is in landscape, and he just absolutely loves it, and he has always wanted to have a high tunnel where he could start seasonal plants, you know, and sell those to people and all that kind of stuff. But I've been so busy, and of course he works full-time, that we haven't worked on that dream just yet. But getting a high tunnel and putting raised beds in that, something like a 24-foot wide by 60 or maybe 70 feet long. It's a big structure, but you could irrigate that, you know, underground. In an area where I live, it's pretty mild. So, gosh, I was talking to a plumber. He said, man, you don't even really need to go down past 6 inches if you're worried about freezing and things like that for your water pipes. Of course, they do have codes here that say you need to be deeper than that, but just from him saying that, you know, and from our pipes, you know, they're not really much lower than 6 inches anyways, the irrigation to the animals and things, and we haven't had any of those break underground, so that's promising. But if you had that irrigation set up, you had that high tunnel, you've got the beds in there, I mean, think about that. You could start another round of tomatoes, maybe peppers, eggplant. You could be doing your squashes. You could be doing cucumber, maybe. But it really just depends. But I think, gosh, you could get another month or 2 out of that food coming in from the garden. And then you could rely heavily on your brassicas and things, those items that don't need any protection at all. Or if you gave them some protection, perhaps they just grow faster, like your kales, your broccolis, cabbages, especially like Savoy cabbage, which is kind of like that curly leafed cabbage that really tolerates the cold well. So yeah, I guess I've just kind of been thinking about stuff like that, kind of trying to see what we can change that makes it easier for us, so that it's not just 3 months out of the year where we're working our tail off. I also think next year is going to be a little bit easier too, since now we basically have everything in. Although Nate says that he's going to put a vineyard in. So I'm not sure if he'll take that on next year. I do know that he's trenched for the irrigation for that. But in my mind, the chickens, the goats, the pigs, the vegetable garden, the orchard, the berry area, you know, my perennial herbs, things like that, I kind of feel like we're good. I kind of feel like we're at the point where we can say, we've got a pretty well-rounded system here, and so, you know, maybe next year will be a little bit easier anyways, but that's just kind of what I've been thinking about. If you guys have other ideas of how to extend seasons, things like that, let me know. I guess you can always grow stuff inside too. That is one thing that I did last year that really helped us, was microgreens. So talk about high nutrient value. That's fantastic. You can put it in smoothies. You can use it as toppers on burgers. You can use it to make an entire salad. And I found that when I harvested those microgreens, now I'm saying season extension here, I'm growing those inside, and they grow within days. And when I harvest those, I just simply switch the tray out and go ahead and start a new set of microgreens. And the harvested microgreens last in my fridge for about 2 weeks without, you know, getting slimy or changing color. I mean, you can't even tell that those have been in there for that long. So they really keep a long time. And that's a great way to, you know, avoid buying lettuce or greens or things like that. And also keeping your family healthy, because you're giving them sort of that high nutritional value food. So that's just kind of been on my mind, just trying to streamline things here. But if you guys have any tips and tricks, leave them in the comments below, because I would love to know. But I just kind of wanted to update you guys and let you know what we've got going on here. Share with you, of course, our new additions. So we're super excited. And anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you in the next video. Oh, let her be.
Come on, girl.
She's trying.
Y'all.
She's trying.
Oh. Come on,
She's
come
trying.
on, come on, come on.
There we go. There you go. Almost. She'll get it. She'll get it. No, you let her do. You gotta let her do it on her own.
I know.
You gotta let her do it on her own. Oh, boom. Oh, boom. He's super cute.